not a doubt in anyone's mind that there wasn't a single team in college basketball that Providence couldn't beat, like being on top of the world and then having everything crumble.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Sideline Stories. Today we are here with Hannah Valente. How are you doing today, Hannah?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Can you just start with a quick background for who you are?
Absolutely. So my name is Hannah. I'm going into my third year at Elon University School of Law in North Carolina. I'm a proud Providence College graduate. And at Providence, I was a four-year manager for the men's basketball team. And I'm from Hoboken, New Jersey, born and raised fifth generation.
Awesome. You said you were a four-year manager for the men's basketball team at Providence College. What was either your favorite part or a highlight that sticks out about that experience?
Well, every year was definitely different, depending on if the team was winning or losing, if we made it, how well we did in the Big East tournament, how well we did in the NCAA tournament. But without a doubt, my favorite year was my senior year. And throughout my 4 years, I began to get closer with the coaches and the players. And I really, like, you could see in the highlight reels, just there's so much emotion just watching like your friends like do so well. But the highlight was my senior night and all the other senior nights where we won the game. We had a special presentation on the court, and it was unfortunately 2020, right before, it was March 5th. So right before the world shut down. But just to have those experiences with the senior players that I was so close with the two other senior managers that I was so close with, and to win that game, and then to have this incredible momentum. There was not a doubt in our mind. At that point, we were on an 11-game win streak. There was not a doubt in my mind that we were obviously going to make the NCAA tournament. We're going to hear our names called the next week. But there's not a doubt in anyone's mind that there wasn't a single team in college basketball that Providence couldn't beat. And it was just the greatest feeling in the world. And like, I truly felt like on top of the world to be part of that team. And then to have the world shut down, and then the NCAA tournament get canceled, and the Big East tournament get canceled, and obviously school getting canceled, and so on. It was like being on top of the world and then having everything crumble. But I still look back at that point during the 2020 season. The Friars were the best team in college basketball, and to be part of that and to be on the road for every trip was truly an experience that I'll never forget. And I'll always wonder, like all the other Providence fans, what could have happened if we were able to play in the Big East tournament, if we were able to play in that March Madness that year. And I'm sure all college fans can relate, but that senior season with those senior guys was a really, really special bond that we'll always have.
Yeah, that sounds like, well, first of all, I would say that I respect you for, out of a kind of a negative final outcome, still being able to take so much positivity out of that experience. You mentioned that at just 23 years old, you became one of the youngest certified NBA, WNBA, and FIBA agents. Can you talk about some of the greatest challenges and rewards from working as an agent?
Yeah, so I think just going back to the process of being certified, I knew that it was going to be a pretty difficult task, obviously having a full-time law schedule and being involved in extracurriculars and so on, and trying to maintain a healthy social life and a healthy well-being. So I knew that like wanting to take this exam, wanting to be certified in law school wasn't going to be easy, but it was something that I knew that I wanted to do. And if I didn't ultimately pass on the first try, I wanted to have that cushion that I didn't have to wait 2 years to be certified, because Elon graduates take the bar in February and the NBPA exam is in February. So just learning the entire CBA was definitely very difficult, but having like the legal knowledge that I have now, it really wasn't as overwhelming as I think it could have been if you didn't like look at it through the legal lens. And just like reading it in general, like I never really felt overwhelmed by the wording. I think just the sheer amount of bylaws and different things that you need to learn. And I would compare like learning the NBPA CBA to learning a new language, because there's just so much There's so many intricacies that you wouldn't necessarily know just as an NBA fan or just as a sports fan in general. So to be able to kind of learn what exactly an agent does and how the agent needs to be familiar with the CBA was definitely the biggest challenge. But luckily I passed the exam, and then my next step naturally for me was to get certified with FIBA so I could represent international players, because that's where the majority of Providence players will end up overseas. And then being a woman in the industry, it was extremely important for me to also be certified with the W. So having those 3 certifications under my belt still in school, I thought would put myself in the best position when I graduate to get the best job. So that's how I went about it. And then in the past couple of months, I've just been really reaching out to people who are either current agents or want to be agents, and just building that network kind of from the ground up.
How does it feel, and what does it mean, not just to be an advocate for women in sports, but you're a female agent in what I would consider a male dominated industry? You know, most agents I would assume are males. So how does that, do you draw inspiration from these female athletes that are going through the NIL process? How does it feel to know that in addition to female athletes, changing the game and leveling the playing field through NIL, you're also changing the game and leveling the playing field from the agent perspective?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that my experience starting to work in men's sports my freshman year of college, I learned early on that if you wanted to work in this industry and you want to be taken seriously, you just need to know what you're talking about. So obviously I was a little scared, like 18-year-old girl going to these practices every day. Like I said before, I'm not even a good basketball player at all. And to have these interactions with the coaches and the coaching staff, there was never a point where I ever felt less than for being a female manager. It was the complete opposite experience. It was only when we were at outside competitions and different games and stuff where the security staff would be like, "Oh, are you a cheerleader?" Or stuff like that, like comments like that. And if a coach heard that, they'd be like, "No, like she's our manager." And just not that ever like got to me, but I think that the past, I would say 5 years, we've seen such a rise in female representation in athletics at all levels. And I think that deciding pretty early on my freshman year of college that I wanted to be a sports agent, there was already a network of women. Kim Miele, Saquon Barkley's agent, she's a Providence grad, she's an NFL agent. So I was able to connect with her at Providence my sophomore year. So to have kind of her being like someone I look up to already, Doris Burke, another obviously NBA legend, she's another Providence grad. So it's not like I was entering an industry where it was unheard of for females to be agents. It was just less common. So in the past 2 years, I've kind of just researched and connected and reached out and like listened to the stories of female NBA agents, female NFL agents, female FIBA agents, and have just tried to kind of model what they've done. So I think it's extremely important for women in this industry, and especially younger women, to pay it forward in any opportunity that they get, because that's going to be the future of sports. But I think it's also a really awesome time to be involved in professional sports, men and women, because I think that a lot of teams, and we've seen this the past couple of weeks, a lot of teams, professional sports teams, NFL included, are elevating women and putting women in power positions that they'd never been in before. So yes, traditionally the agent business is a boys' club, but I've never really felt uncomfortable or intimidated being the only woman in the room. And the reason that is because I've had so many experiences at Providence and being a manager where that's just typical. So I'm fortunate to have that experience where my voice is not only heard, but my voice is encouraged.
At this time, Hannah, we just want to say thank you very much for joining us. If there's anything else you'd like to add, any shout outs or where people can follow you along on your journey, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me, and shout out to your platform that you've created. It's been so great to connect with you this past year and see everything that you're doing. And like we talked about, and the whole overall message is just like this younger generation of sports law students and sports fans and agents in general. I think that our generation in particular is so keen on helping one another and building each other up. And I think that just building on the momentum that you've created and the platform that you've created has been great. And it's been great to connect with you and other law students and sports fans throughout this year. Obviously, shout out to my parents. Thanks for everything. And my sisters. It's going to be great working with my sister with NIL opportunities. We've already got some things in the works. Happy to announce that. And I'm just excited, obviously, to jump in, but I'm also excited to see everyone around me who's in this industry, what they're doing in the sports world. And I'm excited to see what the future holds, primarily for women in sports.
And where can people find you to follow along to see all the progress you're making?
You can add me on LinkedIn. It's just Hannah Valente. On Instagram, on Twitter. I think they're all Hannah Valente. I'm really active. I'm trying to get more active on LinkedIn, but I'm definitely most active on Instagram. So feel free to follow me at Hannah Valente.
Amazing. Well, Hannah, thank you again so much. I appreciate the shout out, and it's been great talking with you. I learned a lot, and I hope you enjoyed coming on. And yeah, we really can't wait to see what you do next.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.